In this video, I will provide a brief overview of the main topics we covered during the course, so that we can reflect on where we started and where we are now. Now, we hope that over the last weeks you have discovered lots of new ideas, concepts, tools and activities for the future classroom, and that you will now have a clearer idea of how your future classroom could look like. So let's do a quick run through of the key areas covered. Now, Module 1 was an exciting one, at least for us, and not only because we crashed the tri-sided tool together. There were lots of ideas in here and lots of inspiring thoughts shared by many of you about why and how we should change our classrooms. I think the key idea here that links into the question of why we should change our classrooms is the fact that we have seen very little change in how we organise our classrooms and how we teach and learn over the last century, while at the same time there have been massive changes to our daily lives and our workplaces. The limited change in classrooms over the last century was really highlighted by a picture shared by Sonia from Athens, and thanks for sharing that, showing her classroom in 1856 and in 2011. Things look more modern now, but ultimately the organisation of the classroom has hardly changed. We also explored how we should be changing classrooms, and based on your responses, the tour of the Future Classroom Lab in Brussels seemed to offer lots of inspiration and many ideas for your own classrooms. It was amazing to see that some of you, after visiting the Future Classroom Lab, have already managed to adopt many of the ideas. Ariana Blazic from Croatia provided us with an inspiring webinar of how she managed to achieve this. And I was also especially impressed by Alessandro Rucchi's Classroom 3.0 in Italy, which also incorporates the Future Classroom Lab learning zones. If we want to achieve change in our classrooms, we need a path that can lead us there. And this is what we started to look at in Module 2. The iTech project has developed the EduVista Toolkit, and this is a step-by-step approach that helps school principals and teachers to move closer to their future classrooms. Now, this approach highlights what we need to consider and reflect upon in the process of innovation. Two key things to consider when innovating are trends and stakeholders. Unsurprisingly, in this exercise you identified students, parents and ourselves, the teachers, as the first stakeholders to consider. But large numbers also highlighted the role of businesses, school administration and universities. Now, for trends, we started an exciting activity, the League of Trends, and this ranking exercise included more than 10,000 votes on which educational trends you thought would have the biggest impact on your teaching in the future. Interestingly, project-based learning and lifelong learning have been trending at the top for quite a while, and areas such as social media or mobile learning are more towards the bottom of the league. Now, does this reflect the optimism or the wish of most of us, or is it a realistic assessment of where things are currently moving in education systems across the world? Now, done properly, project-based learning will break up our traditional divisions of subjects, it will require new timetables and new forms of assessment, and this is a huge change. Is it realistic in the foreseeable future? Well, it's fantastic to see that the majority of you seem to think so. That's a great indicator of the force for change present on this course. And it's also encouraging to see lifelong learning at the top of this league. This indicates a shift in what's happening towards teaching of 21st century skills. Learning to learn, critical problem solving, creativity, these are all skills of a lifelong learner. Now, Module 3 was a packed module with lots of ideas and tools for using technology in the classroom. The key thing to pick from this module is that rather than to see technology foremost as an infrastructure or a cost challenge, it is primarily a pedagogical challenge. We've often seen technology enter the classroom without it being used effectively. We therefore need to think about how we want to use technology for teaching and learning before anything else. The Innovation Maturity Model, which was introduced in Module 3, helps us in doing this. And the results of the activity in this module show some encouraging signs, but also many areas where still a lot of work is required to ensure technology supports our teaching and learning in the best possible way. For example, around 57% of us mainly have students use technology passively, rather than having them produce something with the technology, or even better, using the technology to personalize the learning of the student. Of course, this depends in the first place on the availability of appropriate technologies. Now, in this module, we then explored the 21st century skill of collaboration in more detail as part of this module. Deirdre's critical analysis of how we organise collaboration really seemed to have had a big impact on many of you, resulting in a real reflection process of our current practices. And the number of tools and ideas for promoting collaboration in the classroom has been astounding. Make sure you revisit this section to pick up some good ideas for your next lessons. In Module 4 and 5, things became a bit more technical and we started the process of preparing things for the final assessment. We returned to the IDEC process of a step-by-step innovation path, and we introduced learning activities and learning stories. While there was a bit of confusion about the names of these different concepts, most of you agree that having a step-by-step approach was very useful. To summarise this, future classroom scenarios provide us with a general vision of how we want to organise our teaching and learning. Learning activities provide concrete but context-independent ideas that can support this vision. And learning stories offer the practical context for a set of learning activities that realise the identified vision. As part of this, together we created a large library of activities that support the flipped classroom scenario, with the activity of using Twitter to have students summarise key concepts from their homework videos being the most popular one. Now, the learning stories are still being prepared by you, and we are very excited to see all of your great ideas and the entire learning on this course come together in them. So good luck with your final assessment.